What's up guys, my name's Brandon and today Apple released iOS 18 Beta 6 for registered developers and Public Beta 4 for public beta testers. They're both the same with the same build number and both were released today. Now along with that release, we also got Beta 6 or Public Beta 4 for iPadOS 18, watchOS 11, macOS Sequoia, tvOS 18, and visionOS 2. And we did also get iOS and iPadOS 18.1 Beta 2 if you're on a newer device, along with macOS Sequoia 15.1 Beta 2. But of course, this video is all about iOS 18 Developer Beta 6 or Public Beta 4. So you can see the size came in at 1.32 gigabytes coming from Beta 5 on my iPhone 15 Plus. So a relatively large upgrade size there. So let's go ahead and check out the new build number for this update. So we head to our settings, general, about, and we can see that 18.0, our new build number is 22A5338B. So we now have a B at the end of the build number. We had an F in Beta 5. So we went from an F to a B, which is a nice jump. And then if we go back to the modem firmware version, that is now 2.16.06. It was 2.16.02 on the previous beta. All right, so now what's new here in iOS 18 Beta 6? And the first thing has to do with tinted icons. So this is something that has really grown on me throughout the beta stages. I was really not a fan of this at first, but I think with this new feature in Beta 6, a lot more people are going to use it. So if you tint your icons a different color, you can see how they now kind of match more with the background. The new feature here in Beta 6 is that these tinted icons now link with your wallpaper. So what I mean by that is that if we switch over to a different wallpaper that we have set up here, you'll notice that the icons are a different color. So before on Beta 5 and every version of iOS 18 before this, the tinted icons would just persist through every wallpaper that you had, even if you change the color on another one. So now you can have this set to be different on a per wallpaper basis. So if I change this to be like, this green color right here, and then if I go back and switch to my other wallpaper, you can see that we're not going to have green tinted icons. We have orange because that's now linked with the wallpaper. So that is awesome for customizability. Also new in Beta 6, if we go to our control center and we tap on the plus up in the top left and go to add control, we have a new control under our connectivity here for Bluetooth. So that was not there before. We were only able to access Bluetooth through the connectivity platter, but now we have Bluetooth and you can see that is what the icon looks like. We can also make it larger. So if we go ahead and go into jiggle mode, we can make this a little bit larger. So you can make it a square, you can make it a small rectangle, or you can make it just a little circle like so. So finally, Bluetooth in the control center. If we head into the music application, you can see down in the bottom, we now have new. So before that was the browse section, now it's been renamed to new. So it shows up down there in the tab bar and also up in the top left as the header. And we also got a new splash screen in Apple Music, so it now tells us about the new change to browse. And then we also have share play on more devices. So it says everyone can instantly play and control the music at home or on the go. So Apple didn't specify what devices now have share play, but that appears to be new here in Beta 6 as well. And speaking of audio, we also got a new splash screen for Apple Podcasts. So it shows all the new features that we've already talked about previously. So we have precise sharing, where you can share a link to a specific time in that podcast, like you can do on YouTube, faster search, and more playback control. In the Photos application, we have a couple of changes. So first off, we did get a new splash screen for Photos as well. So it says all new design, which is the design that we saw in Beta 5, where we can no longer scroll up top. It's just all vertical. New collections, and also fully customizable. So it just tells you about some of the features that we've already talked about previously. Now, if we go into the photos itself, there are some changes here that are actually not on iOS 18.1 Beta 2. Okay, so we have the old layout on the left, the new iOS 18 Beta 6 layout on the right. So there's a couple of minor changes here. So first off, you can see under albums, the album layout looks a bit different. So before, the cards were bigger and you can kind of scroll over and you got like a preview there to the right, whereas now they're much smaller and they're all separated. So in my opinion, I don't like this as much. I liked how it was previously a bit better, but you can see that is new here in beta 6. And that also goes down to another album as well for shared albums. So shared albums used to be the same. It used to have the big rectangles here that were all connected, but now they're separated and small, and you have to scroll over to see each one. You can only see one at a time for some reason. So some interesting choices in the Photos application here in beta 6, and it seems like Apple is just constantly tweaking this Photos application before iOS 18 gets released to the public. Also in the Photos application, when you go to a video and you fast forward or rewind, you can see the exact timestamps down there in the bottom left and the bottom right. That was not working for some reason for me in the previous beta. So you can see I have a video here on the previous beta, including iOS 18.1 beta 1, and we don't have the timestamps on the left or the right. Apple also gives us a new splash screen for the Notes application. So again, this just talks about features that we've already talked about: audio transcripts, math and notes, highlighting, and collapsible sections. But it doesn't end there, because we also got a new splash screen for Apple TV, the TV application. So this shows the Insight feature for Apple TV Plus, where you can see who's on screen and the songs that are playing. We have automatic subtitles and enhanced dialogue. We also got a splash screen, a new splash screen for Translate. So it says conversation views, auto translate, and system-wide translation. And then some users saw a new splash screen in the Home application. However, I did not receive that on iOS 18 beta 6 or in iOS 18.1 beta 2, but you might see a splash screen for Home as well. So it seems like Apple is really trying to just remind us of all the new features that are coming in iOS 18. Also in the Control Center, this seems like a bug in beta 6, but the screen mirroring keeps getting added to the Control Center even if you remove it. So it's having issues just staying away. So if you delete it, sometimes if you reboot, it will come back. So it's gone right now, but if I reboot, it might come back. Let me actually test that. All right, so we're back from our reboot. Let's see if it got added back to the Control Center. It's kind of bugging out here for a second as everything is trying to load, but you can see that's kind of a bug we're seeing live right now. Nothing is showing up on my Control Center. Okay, that's funny. And this right here, ladies and gentlemen, is exactly why it is called a beta and why you should not run it on your main device unless you are okay with having issues like this. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to add a control and see if it maybe repopulates. So nope, it just completely eliminated a full screen I had in the Control Center. It seems like it's deleted now. So yeah, quite an issue, but you can see screen recording did not come back. So I guess that was just a bug initially that it would come back for some users. But anyway, I'm going to keep this in there so you can see what it's like sometimes on a beta. Anyways, we also have some new icons that have dark mode now. So the Microsoft applications specifically all now appear to have dark mode. So Microsoft Teams, we have the Authenticator application, and also Google Chrome has a dark mode now. I've also seen some people say that Proton Mail and all the Proton applications also now have a dark skin on them, which is nice. And again, I've explained this before, but I'll explain it again. The dark mode icons have nothing to do with the developers updating their application. This has to do with Apple's backend algorithms. That's what adds the tint to these icons. So that's why this is based on the version like iOS 18 beta 6 and not the App Store version. And if you had the bug with Mail where it was not showing the correct number of unread emails as the badge, that has been fixed in beta 6. Also in the Find My application under devices, it now says home when my devices are at home. Before in beta 5, it would just say the city or the full address instead of recognizing that they were at home. And for those wondering about the frequently used emojis, they are still working as intended here in beta 6. So beta 5 fixed that bug, and it seems like it's fixed for good because it's still working in beta 6. So that's good news. Also, if we go into our settings and go to our iCloud section, and then if we enter into dark mode, we can see that in beta 6 on the right, we have some changes here. So first off, we have some dark mode icons. So the App Store icon now shows in dark mode. For some reason, Find My does not. It still shows the light mode version. Now, if we go into iCloud, this section itself, we have some changes in here as well. So under the saved to iCloud section, you can see that every app in here now has a dark mode variant, whereas before it was still showing the light mode version, even though we're currently in dark mode. And that extends down to the iCloud Plus features as well. So Manage Plan, Family, Private Relay, Custom Email, and Hide My Email all now have dark icons. And we have some glyph icon changes in settings as well. So if we head into our settings, go to General, and then down here, starting at Autofill and Passwords, that glyph icon has changed. We have a change to Background App Refresh. We We have a change to dictionary, and we also have a change to legal and regulatory. Now, taking a look at the release notes, they're very similar to what we saw in beta 5, but we do have a couple of changes. So we have a new known issue related to creating local files and files. We have a resolved issue with the transactions bug that was in beta 5, and there's a new interesting known issue for beta 6 related to RCS. So it says for group messages with RCS and iMessage participants, a reply to a text message attachment might not display as a thread on the receiver device. We have a fix to the shortcuts bug that was a known issue in beta 5. So it says the create board and open board shortcuts actions and app shortcuts might not be available. So that has been fixed. And then we also have a fix for widget extensions and a known issue for images in control widget configuration. But as far as any other bugs, I've not really had any major issues with iOS 18 beta 5. So I would expect beta 6 to pretty much be in the same boat, if not a little bit better. So if you have any issues, let me know in a comment down below. But so far, everything seems fine here on iOS 18 beta 6. Now, as far as the Geekbench scores go, I did go ahead and run a Geekbench score, and we scored a 2474 on the single core and a 6109 on the multi-core. And you can see it was a bit lower than what we saw in beta 5, but again, I did run that shortly after updating, and that doesn't always tell the full story. I will run another test throughout the week to see how it compares to one of these later runs of beta 5. But so far, again, performance, no complaints. Now, when it comes to battery life on beta 5 was actually not bad. It was really one of the first times in iOS 18 throughout the beta cycle where I didn't think battery life was terrible. So battery life on beta 6, I would also expect that to potentially get better here with this latest update. So you guys will have to let me know down in the comment below as you go through, using the device for a couple of days. You can respond days after this video goes live. But of course, I will let you know in my Apple Weekly episode on Saturday how the battery life has been, because I will be using iOS 18 beta 6 on one device and 18.1 beta 2 on my primary device. And for those wondering if it's good enough to put on your daily driver, I would say that you guys saw throughout this video earlier on in the video, it completely eliminated a screen from my control center, and it was just bugged out. I could not access my control center at all. So as long as you're okay with bugs like that, as long as you're okay with knowing there are going to be issues and you might have to reboot your device randomly, and if you're afraid of that happening maybe in the middle of a conference call or something like that, then you probably shouldn't install a beta on your device. But if you're okay with dealing with bugs like that, then I think it's fine for a daily driver at this point. As long as you know the risks going in, I think at this point in the beta cycle, it's pretty stable. I mean, it's pretty solid, and I don't really have any issues with any apps or anything like that anymore. Now, as far as what to expect next up is going to be iOS 18 beta 7. Now, beta 7, we could either see it next week or the following week. And the reason I say that we could switch over to a 2-week release schedule is because we're going to have to do it at some point. Usually it's from, the version before the RC. So if we get the RC on September 9th, which seems like a possibility, or September 10th, somewhere in the week of September 9th, that means that, we're not going to have, most likely not going to have a beta 7, beta 8, and beta 9 before the RC. Like, we could have a beta 9, but that just seems unlikely to me. It seems like we're probably going to go to beta 8. So we could see, I'm kind of reading into this a little bit too much. I know that. But anyways, so let's just put it this way. We could see beta 7 as early as next week on the week of August 19th. That's the earliest possible day that we could see it. But again, we could go a couple of weeks at some point. Maybe it's after beta 7, maybe it's for beta 7. We'll have to wait and see. We all know that Apple is unpredictable these days. And then of course, for the final release, I'm guessing that we're going to see that on September 16th. However, Apple will unveil the official release date soon. They usually do around the end of August, or maybe even in early September. Whenever the Apple event is, that's when we'll know, of course, when iOS 18 is coming. Sometimes they even show it before that. So that's iOS 18 beta 6. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.